Coming to you from beautiful Death Mountain in the land of Hyrule, this is the Link to the Past Randomizer 2019 Fall Tournament here on Speed Gaming. We have a busy night here on the Speed Gaming family of channels. 4 races going on tonight. This is one of them between g3rd0 and Marcnificent here on Speed Gaming 3. Hey everyone, I am Cycle and I am joined by Professor Render. How are you doing tonight, Professor?
I am very excited for this group stage. I've been watching all the past races. They are some amazing races.
I agree. We have a great amount of talent going on in the tournament this year. I don't know what the exact number of participants in the group phase is, but we are currently in the group phase of the tournament. What's going to happen is we're going to have them play down against each other, and then we're going to go to a bracket phase after that, which will be what eventually decides the tournament. So there is a lot of Zelda still coming up here to decide the tournament. We're just starting that group phase. Today is day 1 of the group phase.
First day of groups have been astounding. I've been enjoying it, as I said. Very excited to watch these two runners. On your right is g3rd0, and on your left is g3rd0, and on your right is Marcnificent.
Correct. I'm being confirmed in chat is 128 participants made it to the group phase. So 128 people. This is just 2 of them, and we are getting started on this race right now. We are playing an open mode seed here. And starting out, I saw 300 rupees. I did not catch what was on Marcnificent's side. We will get this synced up in just a moment as well.
Yeah, it looked like something nothing in particular. We did get a map check. For a brief second, I could not see that.
I saw a pendant up at Tower Hera. I think the other 2 were crystals, but we're going to need to get another local Marcnificent checks his map to confirm for sure. EP was a red crystal, according to someone in chat. Thank you for that.
So, not bad placements of the pendants and the crystals and all that. It's pretty box standard.
Uncle giving Link his allowance for coming to check on him. Thank you, nice uncle. Bag of powder, and we found some red goo in the Lost Wood.
That's really nice because we get to check Sick Kid right as soon as we get into Kakariko. So picking up that bottle right out of the gates is very nice for g3rd0.
Very nicely placed set of bombs there too. That means he can go to the Blind's hut and the well and know he can use a bomb on each of those walls. He doesn't have to worry about picking up bombs somewhere along the way. We do have a confirmation red crystal in Eastern Palace and a regular one at Desert Palace on Marcnificent's map check as well.
Mark going to be grabbing his bottle, and g3rd0 now on their way over to the Kakariko. As mentioned before, we can bomb these walls for extra Kakariko. Total of 5 in the Blind's hut.
5 here, 5 in the well, a few more checks, plus the bottle vendor and Sick Kid. When I say a few more, I should also include the tavern in that list as well. I didn't see anything really good there.
No, nothing to morph here.
Well, hopefully the Kakariko well has a much better layout of items of usefulness here. Let's look at the items. I'm trying to think of an item we'd like to see here. How about a lamp?
Oh, there's a mirror. That's close enough.
Well, a mirror. I figured something had to be here. So a mirror it is. There's the glove. So we have a pretty good well so far. What do we have in these 3 chests? We have the other glove, the red cane, and full Harktear. What a well! That
is an excellent well. Both gloves, a mirror, and the cane of Samaria. Very well. This is very nice. And Mark is going to be getting that too, since he's already in Kakariko as well. And as far as the 2 runners are concerned, g3rd0 and Mark, they are amongst the X group in the group stage. They were g3rd0 is 20th overall, and Mark had won our 4th overall in the qualifiers that happened earlier on in November.
In the qualifiers, we had 4 races on each qualifiers to show off just a small group out of our large pool of runners here. Of course, impossible to show everyone in those qualifiers, but we are going to try and get every runner featured at some point during these during these group phases before we get to the bracket. So we are going to try to get a look at everyone over the course of these upcoming broadcasts.
Definitely. And g3rd0 gonna check the sick kid. Only a heart piece.
And Marcnificent going to get his beautiful, beautiful well. And in the tavern, we have a sword.
So for the second half of Kakariko, and most of the first half was, well, actually part of this first half was not bad for this Kakariko whatsoever.
No, that was a pretty good Kakariko well. The rest of the items, except for the sword, were not really as good, but that well made up for the lack of items in the other locations. Everything just got moved to that location. We're going to find what is at the race game right now. g3rd0 not playing it first, and he's going to save some time by not doing that because there was just some bombs there, and he's going to leave there.
Now things into perspective as well, that now that we have the gloves, both gloves, we only need a Moon Pearl for Dark World access.
g3rd0 is going to go ahead and check the castle area right now. I might have put off this castle check until for slightly longer, but nonetheless, he is going to get the uncle check and the chest here out of the way right now. The reason I would put this off is because I would do the castle, which he has a sword. He could do that right now. So he's just going to go ahead and take care of the castle right now because he has that wonderful sword, and that makes it, well, easy.
Definitely. The sword makes this escape much, much more worth it.
My thinking was that after you start a sanctuary, you then go to Link's house after you finish checking Kakariko and then do the South Shore. That's the running that I had in mind, but I don't have any problem with checking the castle first, since you do have a weapon. There are a few items there.
Mark gonna see the race game item as well. Gonna find out those 3 bombs and gonna save him quick.
And he's gonna probably do the South Shore check, I'm guessing, because he's not gonna want to head up to castle right away. No, he's going to Sanctuary. Let's see what he decides. Oh, he just mirrored to the Star Sanctuary very quickly. Very nice.
It's a little bit of a little extra execution in an earlier bit, like extra time save here. Intendance really is to go for the back of escape play.
Ooh. Yeah, that's what he's doing. So what are we going to find in the back of escape? Let's find out. First chest is a heart. Second, Moon Pearl. Third is just a dusty old map.
So that's Dark World access for Marcnificent. Albeit, to be fair, we don't really have partial Dark World access, as we would need a hammer to get the full access to Dark.
Correct. The hammer will provide full access, and that will be the thing that tells us the Aghanim is not required for certain the seed. I don't think we've actually checked the lumberjack yet. Come to think of that though.
No, we have not.
Yeah, so Aghanim could still be required. We just don't know yet. Now, I was looking at the items that we picked up so far. That mirror is going to be good for routing later, because it means that certain checks, like, for example, K45, if it was the chain where you can mirror to K45, also mirror between Stumpy and the shovel spot if you end up picking the shovel at some point. So that mirror is going to make routing interesting later. Let's take a look at the Dark Row. We have pendants in the south west, and we have a red crystal at Palace of Darkness. So the 2 pendants are at Swamp and Ice, and the red crystal is at Palace of Darkness.
I could definitely see a Pod Eastern combo once we have the bow and hammer.
I agree. That would be a nice... I have a feeling they're actually going to consider putting that off just for that purpose. So I don't see an Eastern Palace tip happening yet, especially because we do have access to some of the Dark World at this time.
And g3rd0 are going to play... is going to find the Dark Cross item. That's the one thing that's also left in this escape. Now, in the version 31, this check can be logical if the fire rod was picked up earlier on, and the reason why is because the logic was changed so that when you get a fire rod, you can light the torch boxes, and that will count as part of the logic.
So first time in Thieves Town looks like it's just Blind's paperwork from creating the place. Actually, that was the second chest. I didn't see it was in the first chest. So we're going to have 2 more chests in the front entryway here. And Marcnificent is going to go to a staircase over here on this side. Right over... Nope, he's going to go down. That's the staircase we're going to use.
They're going to pick up their Moon Pearl.
And there's a key. That key is not necessarily something you want to see. That opens up access to a chest that's locked by the hammer. We don't have that yet. There's the big key. We needed that. And he leaves for now. He knows there's items back here to get later.
For Marcnificent to leave Thieves Town while he's ahead, just to make sure once we get to the hammer, that way he can come back at will and get the rest of the items that are in that dungeon.
So I am getting a request from our tracker to check the pence and crystals. It does look correct. So we do have that all marked on the bottom of the screen now for you. We have a shield in the chest in the dam location. We just found an item that I don't believe was important in the brewery as well. And there's 20 bucks in the dam, and g3rd0 is going to take that because he doesn't have Zora money yet.
Yeah, he's exactly 200 away from Zora money, while Marcnificent is going to play the dig game.
And how many? 2. Didn't even finish saying it. 2 digs get you the Quake medallion today.
Of 3 other medallions in the game, and the reason why we need these medallions is because as you see on the bottom, we have Misery Mire and Turtle Rock as crystals, and they have a little blank medallion symbol. This is because we are looking, when we go up to Misery Mire and Turtle Rock, we'll see what medallion is required to even enter those dungeons.
Just needed to update. We just found Quake over at, I believe that was Agina we were checking there. So Agina had the cape. We are going to get to see what the dwarf has right now. We might see some of the dwarf chain right now, or the Amir chain right now, that chain to Swamp Palace that Marcnificent might be starting at this point. That starts with the dwarf. We're going to get the purple chest while we're here. We're going to get the fire rod from the dwarf first. That's a very nice thing that will open up the back of Skull Woods. Skull Woods, I believe, can now be completed.
That is true. Skull Woods is a crystal, and the only way to get to the back of Skull Woods is through that fire rod. So this is completable.
And g3rd0 is going to check Mini Moldorm Cave. I can't believe 11, 12 minutes in, we have not seen Mini Moldorm Cave yet. And Magic Bat says, I curse you by taking part of your life. And we found a Master Sword in the back of Mini Moldorm Cave. And a bow.
Interesting, because now that we know where the bow and the fire rod is, provided that the big key of Eastern Palace is not locked behind the vanilla big key chest, technically this can logically be Eastern Palace can logically be can be logically cleared, because again, if in the event that the big key is in any of the chests that's not the vanilla big key chest, because we need a lamp for that.
Actually, it cannot be logically cleared at all yet because the path to the boss also requires the lantern. So runners will be able to do that if they wish to. They can actually get all the chests if they want to, and many of our runners probably will in this tournament. But it is not logically necessary yet. Speaking of rods, g3rd0 is cracking open a cold one over in the Vano location.
Very interesting location for that ice rod.
Now, they like to say, and actually I say it too, that the trolliest place to put an item is in this vanilla location. That vanilla ice rod, Marcnificent has not done the South Shore yet. I imagine he will at some point, but Hopefully he doesn't put off the South Shore check for too long, because that is something that he could easily miss, not thinking, they wouldn't put that there.
Yeah, that's something to really consider here. K45 only bringing up 5 rupees.
And he is doing the entire string here, it looks like, as I suspected he might. He's not able to do the dig location in the Sacred Grove yet, but he is able to check on Stumpy and say, hey, give me something before you turn into a tree. Thank you, I'll take those bombs off of you.
Some a blue boomerang underneath the by the guy underneath the bridge.
That'll give us the ability to check the stun prizes if we need to collect some money, and it turns out the stun prize is money, but g3rd0 does have enough for Zora. That is why he's doing this fake flipper trick right now. By the way, to do the fake flipper, you simply line up with the edge of a screen as you're about to jump in the water. You jump in the water, push the screen transition as you land on the water, and hey, you're swimming without the flippers.
So I'll explain that a little bit as Mark is going to check the K formerly known as hype.
Yep, and speaking of that former hype cave, it is a heart container, half magic, a smaller piece of heart, money, and, well, that's our second shield. Professor Render, rate this hype cave.
Split shield and Hearts Cave? I don't know.
I didn't catch what was on the ledge there, so hopefully we had an extra pair of eyes on that. g3rd0 is going to check King Zora right now. Looks like it was a red rupee on the ledge. Thank you for that.
And Zora today is going to give us the other boomerang.
So both were in the water. Interesting. Well, one not really in the water, but it was buried underwater.
That was a flute on Marcnificent's side from the purple chest.
Ooh. So Gary had Gary's a musician, apparently.
As to the Mire area, as well as we can gain access to Desert Palace.
We are getting our Eastern Palace check from g3rd0, so he is going to probably clean out Eastern Palace completely. He cannot do the Palace of Darkness yet, so he's not going to make the trip around to try to go there, because he can't go there where he is right now. So he's just getting Eastern Palace out of the way, or at least checks Sahasraral's closet. If he finds the hammer here, he may change that route. So let's see what is in the back of Sahasraral's hut. No need to talk to the old man. Just going to go check his items. Bombs. More red goo. So 2 balls of red goo in the seed today, and a piece of heart.
Activating his flute, getting that duck call.
We can't hear that yet. We'll hear that on g3rd0's side when g3rd0 eventually gets his flute.
And now with that duck in hand, he will have access to Misery Mire as well as Desert Palace. However, as far as we actually completing is concerned, we don't know if it's boots locked or not.
Looks like this is going to lead him to do the South Shore check, so that actually worked out nicely for him, because he can check the Moldorm Cave, and if he wants to, he can flute right over to the Ice Rod Cave. Though, by the time we're at Mini Moldorm Cave, I don't think it really saves that much time.
We're entering Eastern Palace. They're starting with that compass.
Ew. Oh, we got to get it somewhere. So we're going to continue on to the second chest. Marcnificent going to do Mini Moldorm Cave. By the way, if you're wondering why it's called Mini Moldorm Cave, it's right in front of you. 4 Mini Moldorms in this cave.
And a bit of a clarification as well. We don't have access to Misery Mire yet, but we have access to the Mire area. We can't enter Misery Mire until we have either boots or a hookshot.
Marcnificent taking his goodies from Mini Moldorm Cave. He will now leave, and Shirley is going to go get the Ice Rod at this point. He is pulling the flute out, so he is indeed going to play the music to make this just about 3 or 4 seconds quicker. Okay, maybe a little more. There's a piece of heart for Grotto. That's one of the items in Eastern Palace. No big key yet, so Gerdo knows the big key is located in the chest behind the darkness. That means that whatever item is in the big chest is also locked by the lantern, being out of logic at this point.
Yes, that also now brings that fire rod's only pretty useful for. There's no really need for that too, because we know that in this section of Eastern Palace there is no torch boxes. That means you need the lantern no matter what.
Well, you actually can use the lantern. This is something you're pointing out that is worth discussing here. You can use the torch to light torch boxes. There actually is a torch box somewhere in that room, I believe, that you can light. If I'm wrong, then I just am not thinking of the map. But I know further back there is a torch you can light, and you are able to use that. However, it's worth pointing out that you are not required to ever have the fire rod to actually go through the room that way. The fire rod is not part of the logic. Only the lamp is part of the logic.
It appears as if ether is required for Misery Meyer.
Which we don't have yet. And there's our third shield.
Of course, this third shield is out of logic, as you mentioned, with that lantern as still out there. We don't have access to that. Well, logically.
Yeah, now the chance of the mirror actually being part of the logical situation is very, very minimal. The only way it would actually ever be part of the logic would be if it involves something like having the mirror shield to deflect lasers to Turtle Rock or something along those lines. Otherwise, it's not going to be something that the runners take into consideration because many runners don't worry about having the mirror shield for that anyway. And there's our big key for Desert Palace, so at least Desert Palace can be completed.
Yes. However, the right side of Desert Palace is boots locked.
We have to hope for right now there's not a necessary item there, but Marcnificent is going to check the big chest and see if one of the items is in there. If he finds an item in this big chest and the other item on Moldorm, that will be a best case scenario because that means we don't need to come back for that key.
Meanwhile, Gerdo...
Go ahead.
You can go ahead. I guess I'll say this here. Gerdo was taking on the Armos Knights, and he draws first blood. Gets the first crystal of the race.
We were about to say the same thing. That's why I conceded that to you. He was indeed fighting the Armos Knights and melted them as quickly as I was talking about items on the right side of Desert Palace. But because of that, I actually didn't even catch what was in the big chest. It looks like the hammer... Nope, the hammer was in the big chest, according to chat. Which is a very interesting find.
Definitely. This is very nice to find for Marcnificent. That means the full entirety of Darkworld is available to Mark.
Now, back to what I was saying before, if we find the second item for Desert Palace is back here a couple rooms away on Land Molas, then that means that we don't ever have to come back here, which would be an absolutely sensational thing for Marcnificent. He doesn't have the lamp, but the fire rod will suffice for this purpose, and off he goes to fight some worms. Grotto is going to take the trip back to Skull Woods. Unfortunately, he has not picked up the fire rod yet, and therefore he does not know he can actually complete Skull Woods at this time.
And an excellent fight for Marcnificent. He's going to get that map. That means that there is an item on the right side, which is boots locked.
Unfortunately, that means Marcnificent will need to consider coming back here. He may try and put this off because it isn't only one item. If it's an important item, that will obviously come back to bite him, but that's how it works sometimes. Sometimes you leave an important item behind where you don't expect it to be. We will find out later if that is exactly what happens or not.
Gerdo in Skull Woods picked up a heart container from the big key chest, if I'm not mistaken.
We're going to get our checkerboard cave check right now, so let's see what's in there. Marcnificent lifts the rock and finds a 10 bomb pack. To explain why that is specifically a 10 bomb pack compared to any other bomb pickup, that is the 10 bomb pack that you can get from Uncle in standard mode when he gives you a random weapon at the start of that version of the game. So that is an item that you can start escape with, and you only have those 10 bombs for your entire escape run unless you find something else in a chest along the way.
Yeah, 10 bombs is, unless you know how some bomb strats, that is mostly impossible. At least from what from my ability to play this kind of scene.
Marcnificent getting his cape from Agina. So g3rd0 is continuing the check of Skull Woods. He's going to come back to that chest, I'm presuming. He didn't check it yet. He's going to go and maybe not. I guess he's going to come back later.
g3rd0, on the other hand, going to check out the Bumper Cave.
Piece of heart, so that's not vital.
And Mark is heading back into Thieves Town now that he's got that hammer from the big chest of Desert Palace.
Yes, that means that everything in here can now be collected, and there's no reason to leave this on the table. g3rd0, meanwhile, checking another item we have not seen yet. That is the Graveyard Ledge item. And collects the 4 bombs along the way, and that's a piece of heart, and why not? We'll pick it up. We're here.
Yeah, that works.
Marcnificent making his way through Thieves Town proper at this time. This is a room that you are actually able to soft lock the game, and if you kill an enemy while you're standing in a certain location in the middle of the room, this room does not load properly and you are soft locked.
I've never had happen to me ever, and I never knew that.
It actually happened to me one of the first seeds I tried to play.
Ooh, that hurts.
Yeah, I'm like, boy, this is encouraging. So Marcnificent going to blow the hole in the Sunshine Room right now. Why do I call it the Sunshine Room? Well, there's a nice glorious ray of sunshine and also a Bombos medallion, which just happens to be there.
We'll know either medallion that we need from Misery Mire. Now, there could be a possibility that Bombos may be required for Total Rock, that or the Quake, but it also can be the Either medallion as well.
Marcnificent going to go downstairs. There's 3 items still found in Thieves Town, and this is just item locations, I should say, that are still to be found. One of those is on Blind, the boss. Another is in the big key chest, which is protected by the hammer and being required. And the third is coming up right next to the lovely maiden that we need to save out of Thieves Town. If you want to believe she's a lovely maiden.
Maybe not.
So we're going to get followed by this lovely maiden. g3rd0, meanwhile, gets his magic bat check and is cursed with extra life. And there's that piece of heart for Marcnificent from the big key chest. And I have not been keeping proper count, but does that mean we've seen all of our items, or is still an item on Blind?
Well, I know one facet is that the Blind will never have a small key. That's because of how...
And by the way, this is not a maiden if you didn't know. I'd peg you as a fan of the hammer.
Well, Hammer Pigs is right across the street.
Yep. Okay, let's see what item Blind has. And the item in Blind's arsenal is his shirt. I don't know if I'd want to put that shirt on.
I mean, it gives us protection.
But it's sweaty.
Oh, because of the sun. Okay.
Yeah. Gerdo making his way through Thieves Town now. He does not have the hammer. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to stay or go. He will be leaving an unknown item behind in the hammer chest if he does decide to go. If he does decide to stay and defeat Blind. Marcnificent going to get his check of the item at Bumper Cave and walk away. And Gerdo is going to, well, might change his mind. He is going to stay.
Well, to be fair, Gerdo, if he had the hammer, really it wouldn't matter because it's just a piece of heart. Of course, he doesn't know that because he doesn't have the hammer.
That's what I'm referring to. Because he doesn't have the hammer, he's going to have that item, and he's going to be keeping counting to 4, and realizing he only got to 3, and that's going to haunt him for a while until he gets to the point that he might be looking for one item, and he has to come back in looking for that item.
Yeah, this may take into consideration whenever the runners are going into a state to where they have to last location everything, their go mode.
Now, I want to know something Marcnificent just did. He came south into a room where you open that heart container chest and the pits appeared. He went and took the time to go to the room above before opening that chest. And the reason is because you don't have to walk around those pits to go to and from that north room again. So he came back down, he opened the chest, and he didn't even have to deal with those pits that appeared. So that's a little bit of a time save depending on how you wrote the dungeon. Gerdo gonna blow a hole for the sun to shine in.
Power.
Sorry?
Spoiler alert, it's the golden power.
And that bug just stops right in the middle of the door. Rude.
But Mark has opened up the back of Skull Woods.
And takes out a couple mini mold arms and is going to go to fight a bug. Now, I assume he's going to fight the bug before checking the chest. This is a good play if you're only looking for one item. If it's on Motley, you don't have to go down to check the chest anyway. Plus, if you have the item in the chest, you're going to have to defeat Motley anyway, so it makes sense.
Now, unlike Blind, Mothra can have a key, and even the big key.
Yep.
And the reason being is that you never need this big key in Randomizer for Skull Woods. You need is a fire rod to get to the back, and really, all the keys just open themselves in the middle portions, or the first parts of Skull Woods.
And while you were explaining that, Marcnificent does take out the bug. And speaking of the big key, this is only one of the 2 dungeons like that. Swamp Palace is the other one where you don't actually require the big key to get to the back. And Argus could also hold the big key to open the big chest.
Also, a bit of clarification too. It's only the big key and not the small key.
Gerdo gets a new shirt. Or rather, a used one.
So there's a big key for Mark, as I previously mentioned.
Looking at the tracker, looks like g3rd0 is, in terms of items, significantly behind in terms of collection, because he is missing the fire rod, he is missing the flute, the hammer, so he still has some exploration to do. Marcnificent has a bit of an exploration advantage in this seed. He's running this just a little bit better, it looks like.
The big chest, I think, only had a heart container, so that will be it for Mark.
Yep, there's nothing else of interest in this area. He's never going to come back here because we don't have a book, so we're not going to be able to do the pedestal check while we're here. That pedestal is going to probably remain unchecked unless we find a point where we run out of places to look for things and we need to go there. And g3rd0 getting his fire rod, so he's going to now realize he could have finished Skullwoods.
And g3rd0 going to pick up that purple chest that will contain the flutes for g3rd0, which is still something to be pretty excited for.
Oh yeah, we get to hear the flute music shortly.
That is true.
Yeah, gotta be excited for that. So Marcnificent checking Graveyard Ledge. That was just a piece of heart, if I remember correctly. And he summons the duck, and courtesy of Sway Duck Air, goes over to the Palace of Darkness Stone. g3rd0 meanwhile goes to check Stumpy. That was just some bombs, I believe. And you remember you were making a mention of this earlier, Render. You were talking about doing the Palace of Darkness and Eastern Palace combo. That appears to be exactly what Marcnificent is doing. And something of interest here is that those are both the red crystals. So he will get both red crystals while he's here. And that means that he will be able to then go check Pyramid Fairy right from Palace of Darkness if he so wishes.
Some very good 5/6 crystal placement, especially in the configuration that now that he has the fire, well, he has the bow, he has the hammer. Yes, while the other 5/6 crystal, that being Eastern Palace, technically is out of logic because we don't know where the lamp is. It is possible that, in my perspective, maybe the lamp could be in a pod to make that all logical.
I'm thinking it could be at this point. I mean, we can't get into Swamp Palace yet. I'm just thinking what else we can do. Tower of Hera, out of logic, and again, it's successful, but it's out of logic. So whatever we do at this point is going to be out of logic in terms of those dungeons. I think the lamp most likely is in here, or the flute is our access point to Death Mountain, which looks like it could be the case right now. The lamp could be on Death Mountain.
That is true. We have the materials to collect everything from Death Mountain.
Oh, I'm being asked a question in chat. Why is Tower of Hera out of logic? That's a good point. We can get to Death Mountain. No, Tower of Hera would be in logic because you have the mirror. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah, pretty much as I said, we have the entirety of Death Mountain to check. That also includes Tower of Hera.
Ooh, comment in chat that after Pod EP that someone would consider checking Turtle Rock at this point. And we have music. I found the idea of checking Turtle Rock very interesting because we do have the Fire Rod, the Ice Rod, which would allow us obviously to defeat Trinex individually. The Canis Samari will get us around. So that's a good chunk of what we need. The only question is how do we get in? g3rd0 meanwhile unlocks Swag Duck Air and goes to the Misery Mire area to see what is there.
He'll get the information that Ether is required for Misery Mire. But in addition, he will have access to Desert Palace, and in turn getting that hammer from the big chest of Desert Palace.
So we're going to check his Mire shed and get his life from there. There's the big key for Eastern Palace. Now again, completing Eastern Palace is out of logic without the lamp. So the lamp is still needed to complete Eastern Palace within logic. We'll see if Marcnificent decides to do that or whether to come back and do the combination later. But my guess is the fact that he's here and both dungeons can be accessed at this point, he's probably going to just do both in the dark at this point.
Yeah, it makes sense. Mark also got that mushroom. Speaking of Mark,
I gotta have some mushroom soup once in a while.
fetch quest item. That means that we have access to the potion shop that we can turn in that mushroom for.
And there is a magnetic circle. And yep, Marcnificent is exploring the lower floor of Palace of Darkness, but he is using the fire rod to help light his way around. So this is probably the other reason why he doesn't mind doing this right now. He can use the fire rod to see where he's going.
Yeah, this is also in logic too, as I previously mentioned before.
And g3rd0 getting his big key in Desert Palace. And we are now in the Dark Maze. And I don't remember. I think there are torches in here, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But so we'll see if we can see what is here. We are seeing a piece of heart. There's the hammer for g3rd0.
There is no torch boxes.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
It's the only dungeon, the only part of the dungeon, and a few other cases in the dungeon that you need the lamp for that to be logical.
There is $20, so at least we get to see what both items in the dark are. They are not important items. Worth knowing he did use the key to come in here as well. He did not do the bomb yump, the hammer yump, as it's referred to by the community. So he did use the key there, but he does have the 6th key, it looks like, so he is going to just continue to the back with that last key.
Typically, you see that hammer yump, as it's called, in events in certain game modes like Key Sanity, or in, most importantly, the NMG speedrun, or No Major Glitches speedrun.
And some runners do that very well as well. It's amazing to see a really nicely done hammer yump. So g3rd0 on the Lambolos fight right now. Marcnificent on his way through the arrow lock side, the bow lock side of Palace of Darkness. Actually, that's not even the bow lock side. That's just the back of Palace of Darkness at this point.
Clean Lambolos fights, getting that crystal from Lambolos.
And the staircase is revealed as g3rd0 serenades and gets duck transportation once again.
And g3rd0 is looking to follow in Mark's footsteps, going to Pod.
Now, he's not going to have the convenience of doing Eastern Palace right after. He's already done Eastern Palace, so he had to make the extra trip over here. That's a little bit of a time loss from that perspective. So it looks like he also has not completed Skull Woods yet because he had to leave before he got the Fire Rod. He went before getting the Fire Rod and therefore could not complete Skull Woods yet. And Marcnificent showing that you don't need some stinking lamp to finish this area. You just light a torch with the Fire Rod. That said, though, the clearing this dungeon is still considered out of logic without the lamp.
Because there's not enough torch boxes to make it logical.
So we have a shy monster here, the Helmusar King. He is your glorious king who likes to hide behind a mask, and we just need to convince him to not be shy, take it off, and show his lovely face for us. Look at that beautiful face. Beautiful, beautiful face. He apparently doesn't like it very much, though. He's swinging his tail at us angrily. So unfortunately, we're going to have to, take him out. And what does Helmusar King drop today? He drops just some wooden sticks. So that is the 4th crystal for Marcnificent, and he is now ahead in the crystal count by 1. Also, in terms of a routing advantage, he's ahead of g3rd0 a little bit in terms of a lead right now. I don't think I see any real items between the two that are not blocking him that g3rd0 has not already picked up.
Now, since both runners are going to be retracing their footsteps here, I think it's a good time to mention the format that we're using.
Go ahead.
So these group stages are formatted in a GSL style format, and there's both sets, and both set matches are best 2 of 3. And you need to win 2 matches in order to win your match. Or 2 games win your match, but still.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, if you win 2 games, you move on to the group stages. If you lose 2, you're out. If you win 1-1, you have a tiebreaker match against another opponent who is also 1-1, and whoever wins moves on, I believe. I think I got it.
The runners are, as you said, retracing their steps. Marcnificent now going through Eastern Palace, whereas g3rd0 is doing the Palace of Darkness. He's going to move a wall right now.
And a bit of more extra information and to answer a question in chat. Essentially, these group stages are a double elimination before moving on to the main brackets, which are, I believe, single elimination.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's still a best of 3 in those brackets, though.
3, and it's still single elimination.
Yeah, single elimination bracket, but best of 3. So Marcnificent going to come to the big key chest right now, which coincidentally enough, he now knows has the big key today. And g3rd0 going to convince this lovely monster to show his beautiful face. Remove thy mask, shy monster. That's nice of you. So he will get his bundle of sticks from the Helmusar King, and I'll be very curious to see where he chooses to go next. At this point, I would not be surprised to see him go finish Skull Woods, just to clear that out. And that would put him pretty much at even pegging in terms of the crystal count at this point, since Marcnificent is going to be getting his 5th here as well. But I can see Marcnificent, and maybe g3rd0 as well, since he's in the Dark World, possibly going and checking the Pyramid Ferry right now. So we'll find out. g3rd0 is going back into Palace of Darkness. Did he leave a chest behind? He has a key, so he must have.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised though, but I'm not. not too surprised, but like, okay, he goes always come back. But Mark on the RMO's fight, setting for the quick kill.
Looks like he may not have done the dark room here. So those were 2 items we know were not important. The big chest is still sitting there unopened too. So he has to come back and get the big chest, it looks like, as well. Oh, and all these as well, it looks like.
He was on the right side of pod. Meanwhile, Mark getting off that quick kill, and now it's all mostly a tie game, except for, I don't know, maybe Skullwoods.
Nah, he's still a crystal head at this point.
Yeah. Except for Skullwoods. Now Mark is on his way up to the mountain. This is not a bad idea, actually.
Yep, I like this play.
You have a ton of items on Death Mountain. It's the most item-dense overall checks in the game, if you don't count Misery Mire.
Was that just the flippers?
That was definitely flippers.
And that's another blue item, the Cane of Burna. So, Brian, if you are looking for your cane, please check into Sanctuary Rock to find it.
I mean, to be fair, we do have a cape, so he has access to the Spike Cave check. If you have the cape or the Cane of Burna, as they are considered invulnerability items.
Now, I'm noticing right now something interesting about those flippers. That's something you do not want to see right now. And the fact that Marcnificent finds that right now, that could be putting a little bit of dread in his mind right now, because there are 2 dungeons that are locked by the flippers, and they are both pendants. They're not dungeons that you are required to do to complete the seed, but now they just open up as possibilities for progression. So that's not something he wanted to see.
That is true. Though,
No.
one of them is a green pendant, and that being Swamp Palace.
Yes.
Normally,
but being such an item-dense location, it's still something you didn't want to see right now, because that could have locked 6 items off of your search.
Plus the green pendant for a total of 7 items.
Right. Gerdo finds some money and gets a life fill up from the witch.
Though, to be fair, the green pendant is hookshot locked, so...
Ooh. We have Quake for Turtle Rock, and I see one side of the tracker we don't have Ether marked on Misery Mire, so we'll just throw that out there as well. So Quake for Turtle Rock today, and that means we can go in. There are, I believe, if I remember the number right, 4 items in Turtle Rock that we're looking for, and if the Ether medallion is in here, those flippers are not going to be important.
That is true. However, we're still looking for either the boots or the hook shot in order to be in go mode, as in order to even get into, like, at least get a little bit further, at least inside Misery Mire, you have to get either the boots in order to bonk yourself, or get the hook shot. Block.
So we're going to do the maze. Well, we're going to fall in the pit first. Then we're going to do the maze. Not really much of a maze, but still a KS Mario path we have to follow. Gerdo getting his news about Sanctuary Rock. Marcnificent is going to light these torches now. He's waiting till the last possible pass in order to do it, however, so he has the most time to get to the open door. So he's going to light this one, the lower right first, then the upper right, then these 2 at the same time. The door opens, and it's a nice casual walk to the door instead of trying to race before it closes. Gerdo getting his flippers. And there's a small key, and that dusty old map again. So at this point, we need to use a key to get to the next chest. And since there's another key locked door behind that, we know that Chompy is going to be guarding the key today. So there's still several items buried underneath in the lower floor of Turtle Rock.
Gerdo is deciding to not leave Hera and instead going to climb Hera.
Marcnificent going to get his key here after he baits the Chain Chomp into going somewhere else, and he did.
Now, these chain jumps, if you're not familiar with Link to the Past, these hit like a truck.
And there's a full heart container in Tower Hera. So Marcnificent has the big key. If he wants to, he could try to steal the key here. The question is, will he? There could still be an item here, so I'm going to guess he doesn't. Going to take the bunny beam there. And there's $300 for his troubles.
Gerdo, meanwhile, going to fight the Moldorn fight. Very smooth.
Very nicely done. Now that was a pendant, so it's not necessary to do that. And that's why like you said, I found it interesting as well that Gerdo went ahead and did this. Knowing there were only, besides Skullwoods, which he can't complete, only 2 other crystals left in the game. So, as you said, I also found that interesting that he did that. If it turned out Ether was in there instead of that full heart container, though, in that one chest on the 4th floor, that would have been a really good play.
Definitely. But also, this Turtle Rock play is not a bad idea either.
Well, especially the best play because it's crystal. You know you have to do it anyway.
Yes.
And that dungeon, you're not going to save a lot of time in Go mode. You still have to open the chest looking for the keys. The only exception would have been that Lava Island chest because we already had the big key. In Go mode, you can steal that key.
Mark going to check Mimic Cave, while Gerdo going to check Spiral Cave. Going to walk his way around Spiral Cave. It's pretty slow and arduous.
It's the painfully slow walk of shame, as I like to refer to it anyway. And what is the item at the bottom of the walk of shame today? Ooh, the bacon blade.
1000 Degrees Sword. That is not bad at all.
And Gerdo getting assailed by one of the dead rocks. So Marcnificent, I didn't catch what was in the big chest. I was watching Gerdo, but we're going to see what's in this chest right now. It is a compass.
Now, the good thing about having the Tempered Sword is that Gerdo won't have to put a lot of time into the Ganon fight, as typically in Link to the Past, by the way, there was that bug net, but...
Yeah, let's refer to the rest of Paradox Cave, then we can continue that discussion. I want to see what else is in Paradox Cave in case Ether is in here. We're going to clear out these 3 mini Moldorms. There are 5 chests back here. Many Moldorms don't have to be cleared to open the chest, just to get out of the room. There's our Book of Medora. So we can now read if we have extra time to kill. There's our hook shot. That's necessary. And yeah, that's all that's back there. But some good items. Go ahead with what you're saying.
Well, first and foremost, the pedestal is dead. Like it matters anyway, because pedestal couldn't have the hook shot. But maybe either, but I don't know. But the reason why is it wouldn't have to worry about you don't have to worry about Ganon, because typically you need a Tempered Sword to even fight Ganon without having to do something like Master Sword spins or something of that sort. Now, typically, you would also need the Silver Arrows to make the fight, to end the fight off in style, pretty much, or at least put 4 arrows into Ganon and call it a day. There are 2.
That was the lamp.
Oh, that is.
Oh, that's twisted.
That is not a good spot for the lamp.
No, not at all. But it does put the logic back into focus for g3rd0 at this point.
But also Mark's fighting Trinex. That also means g3rd0 can do Hookshot Cave.
Which he's doing right now with that hook shot, obviously. If Ether's in here, this is going to work out well, but there's another bottle, so you think he has all 4 bottles now. According to our count, he has 3 right now, so that makes it 4. And we did not find the Ether Medallion in here. We are getting the Trinex fight, meanwhile, from Marcnificent, so he unfortunately got some ice on the floor. That's going to make traversing this part of the room a little bit harder, but once that heads out, he can stay on the left side. That ice won't bother him from here. g3rd0 going to make his way to Turtle Rock right now. And hammering the middle head because he only has a Master Sword. The Temper Sword will make the fighting just a little bit faster for g3rd0 at this point. That's one way that g3rd0 can possibly make up time. He has a hook shot, which is required to finish the game. You have to have it unless you know how to hover at the final Moldorm fight of the game in Ganon's Tower. So unless you have the ability to hover, you have to have that hook shot. And that's necessary. So Marcnificent will have to eventually go pick that up. And the longer he puts off the rest of Death Mountain checks, the worse that will be. But I think he's going to start doing those right now about the 1 hour point.
Though, to be fair, we also need to exercise a bit of caution, as we don't know if the Ganon's Tower Big Key is on the torch.
Correct.
We need to find the boots, full stop.
Marcnificent is going to go get his bacon blade at the bottom of this, at the hole at the end of this area here. So that sword advantage that g3rd0 had didn't last that long. At least it'll be in effect for Turtle Rock. g3rd0 just keeping that cape on the entire time he was in that room. And yeah, I'm starting to think that at this point, because we have seen all of Turtle Rock from Marcnificent, we still did not find Ether Medallion. g3rd0 did do some of the Death Mountain checks. We did find that hook shot that Marcnificent is going to find upstairs in just a moment. So he will have that in hand. But we still don't know where the Ether Medallion is, and the question is, what is left for the Ether Medallion? I'm starting to think it could be either in Swamp Palace or in Ice Palace at this point.
Or Aga 1 on the Lumberjack Cave.
Or the pedestal. That book, by the way, is insignificant at this point because you don't need the... Well, it can open up a couple of tablets, but it's not important for getting in Desert Palace at this point because, well, hey, the runner's already backdoored Desert Palace. We're not worried about that.
Yeah, you either need the book to get into Desert Palace if you have not found the Titans mirror and flute.
Just confirming a question in chat. Yes, Hookshot Cave has been checked. It was not there either. We did find our 4th bottle, though. And hey, we have a nice, cute pink bunny rabbit on g3rd0's side. Marcnificent getting his lamp. Something we did not mention or consider in our discussion is that Ether could be the last item in Desert Palace. There is, as you alluded to earlier, the key lock side that is boots locked, so it could be locked by the boots. There's only one thing I can say for sure where Ether is placed that I can say Ether is not. We know it's not in Ganon's Tower.
Yes.
Or in Misery Mire.
Well, obviously, because we need to even get into Misery Mire.
Ooh, Marcnificent losing some time on the Hookshot Cave. And all that for a piece of heart, and he leaves. And Marcnificent is probably going to do Tower here at this point because he is walking in that direction. But since he has the book, he might do the Ether tablet first. The actual Ether tablet first. Would it not be ironic if the Ether tablet drops the Ether?
Be very interesting. And yeah, this is definitely an Ether tablet check.
Yep, definitely. Would be kind of poetic if this is it. So raise your bacon blade to the gods and pray aloud, and you receive bombs.
Search continues. Check out Spike Cave.
Yes, this is one thing that Grotto did not check yet, because he wanted to do Turtle Rock before coming here, I presume.
It's called Spike Cave. There's because of a bunch of spikes, and you need the cape or cane of burnout to traverse those spikes, but you can hit. Only for 3 bombs.
And Marcnificent does not find anything valuable at the end of Spike Cave, so he's going to return to Link's house and think of another plan for somewhere to go. It looks like he might be considering Swamp Palace at this point. I think he's going to check the Bombos tablet first, though, because that's a quick check to do before committing yourself to the full Swamp Palace place. So he will most likely mirror himself over the Bombos tablet and check that before going to Swamp Palace. That is my guess. We'll see if that is what he does. Oh no, he's doing the big red bomb. Well, he made a liar out of me. Let's see what the Pyramid Fairy has today.
Is not a bad idea because you're in the vicinity. Although, since we are only an Ether medallion away from go mode, I would say to dive some pendants.
Well, at this point, it's just a matter of which location you want to gamble has it, and Pyramid Fairy is... There's a reason this is one of my favorite locations. Among my first races, I had 2 quick races where the Pyramid Fairy had an item, so it's quickly become one of my favorite spots to look for something too. So it could definitely be here, and if it turns out it's here, then this is the right play. We're going to find out what's on the edge of the pyramid as well while we're here. It looked like some bombs. I didn't get a good look at it, but I thought I saw blue and white.
Yep, that was definitely bombs.
Mushroom was 20 rupees to answer the question in chat. Speaking of, there's another 20 rupees in Piece of Heart. So it was not Pyramid Fairy.
Mark heading back into escape, checking out Darkross.
I don't think did he do the main escape route yet?
He did at the start.
I wasn't sure if he did the main castle escape path yet. I know he came back, got the uncle, but I thought he left without completing it. Unless I missed something and forgot that.
But Mark's grabbed his piece of heart.
He's going to mirror back to the beginning, and... No, it looks like I'm right. He didn't do this yet.
Made a liar on me. Oh, right. Our tracker mentions that Mark only went to the back with the Titans Mess.
He did.
And never
He
did escape.
Yeah, he definitely did do the back of Escape early because I do remember seeing that. I didn't think he had completed it. It was g3rd0 who actually did do all of the palace. This is where g3rd0 lost some time earlier. Marcnificent jumped ahead on the crystals. He's going to get that time back now with Marcnificent doing the castle as g3rd0 checks the... getting his coffee break. Not really much of a coffee break because he got stuck inside the peg, so he has to avoid the tiles. But it is the coffee break room in Tower Hera. He's concluded there's an item back here. If this is Ether, this is going to be a big play. He just has to light 4 torches. The 4 torches have been lit. What is in the chest? It is 10 arrows.
Search continues yet again.
Well, Marcnificent has not done Tower Hera yet, so it will be interesting to see if he decides to make that play when he starts looking for pendant dungeons. If he does, that's one that g3rd0's already done. That would be what g3rd0 needs to get back in this race, I think. Mind you, they're at a crystal tie rate. Actually, not quite tied. He has to get Skull Woods. So g3rd0 will still have to go back and get Skull Woods at one point as well. Speaking of, I'm surprised he hasn't checked Skull Woods looking for the Ether yet.
He could possibly route in the pedestal check Woods if he decides to go there.
He could get the pedestal right now. You're absolutely right. He could check that right now if he wants to go to Skull Woods. Skull Woods is a crystal. He has to do it. Marcnificent might be going to Swamp Palace. That or the Bombos tablet. Let's see which way he goes. He is going down. He is making a swim. He is going straight down. He is not detouring to the left to go check Bombos. So it looks like he is going to commit to Swamp Palace at this point.
Total of 6 items plus a green pendant, making a total of 7 items.
There's discussion in chat, not really a question, but more of a discussion in chat as to why they haven't bothered to look at the lumberjack item yet. The reason they're not looking at it is because they don't have the boots yet. So they're, even if Aghanim were required, they'll still have to find the boots in order to check that lumberjack item. Of course, now that we're talking about the boots, they're going to be in the first chest here at Swamp Palace. That's just what you imagine to see at this point, right?
Yeah, well, to be fair, the first chest, that's not the required first chest that you need to even get into Swamp Palace, because
not this chest. That's the key.
Yeah, because if we didn't have that key, it would be soft locked from it.
Exactly, the first item chest. That key doesn't count in that first chest discussion. This is the first chest that we're talking about in this room right here. If these are the boots, that will probably put a sour taste in Marcnificent's mouth. But it's the Ether tablet, the Ether medallion. That means, well, at 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 36 seconds, I think we can say Marcnificent is in. Well, I was giving it to you, Render, but go mode.
Yeah, Schrodinger's go mode, though, because we don't know if the gas tower big key requires the boots.
And he's gambling on the possibility that it does not. And this, if boots are also in Swamp Palace and the big key is on the torch, that's going to be a horrible result for Marcnificent coming upon the Ether medallion before finding the boots. Of course, it was bound to happen. It was the first chest. So it was going to happen anyway. But that would be a very bad scenario to have to go back and flood the dam a second time.
Maybe the boots are on the pedestal.
Maybe he'll be lucky and he'll find him along the path here to find... as he's looking for the big key here, he's going to probably God mode Misery Mire. If he finds that big key in the first chest, he's not going to be looking for the other items here. He's going to go straight to the back. I think we can say that with clarity, with certainty, because he quickly noped out of Swamp Palace as soon as he found the Ether medallion.
g3rd0 is going to get that pet check, so is this the boots or is it not?
It is not. Maximum health increased. Yeah!
Which, in layman's terms, is a heart container.
And I don't think g3rd0 is going to be wasting time completing the pendant dungeons looking for that. And g3rd0 demonstrating heavy lifting. He's on his way to get the Skull Woods crystal right. Nope, he's going south. I thought he was going for Skull Woods. There's a big key. Marcnificent is going to hop in the pit, go back to the start of the room, and he's going to go to fight an eyeball.
Yeah, that is considered a Godmire because, and we call it that because it's in the event that if the big key is in the first 2 chests that a runner will check in Misery Mire.
Again, this could be a situation where it ends up hurting him, though. If it turns out the boots are in here and the Ganon's Tower big key is on the torch, he will have to come back here later if this is indeed where the boots are located. And I know that it may sound like we're hyping up the possibility of Ganon's Tower big key being on the torch, but I kid you not, the first seed I ever rolled for a tournament race, the big key was on the torch and the boots were not in hand.
Yeah, and I know that exact feeling. You're so excited because you're in go mode and you're looking for those you don't have the boots or anything, only to find that the GT big key is on the torch and your momentum has pretty much been destroyed.
Yeah, as soon as you see that, the first thing that goes through your mind is, no, don't make me do this. And then you go looking through all the chests in Ganon's Tower. You don't find the boots in there. The rage starts to fill your mind, and you start guessing where you find it. And it's, of course, it's the last place you look, and then the other player wins the race by then.
But Mark's on the Vitreous fight.
So the aforementioned eyeball, he uses one of his red potions to make sure he doesn't die, which is a very wise move. Dying would set him back a little bit here. Bobble Stout, by the way, was just some arrows. I don't think Marcnificent checked that.
No. But down goes Vitreous.
Now that means that we don't have a bot working in chat today, so we're not going to run the bot, but we can have an official guess on the Big Key guessing game. In Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game, chest number 1 to 22, the torch does count as location when we pass it. So what number do you think is going to be the big key today, Professor Render?
Well, first of all, I don't want to see a big key on the torch. That would be a nightmare. But in reality, I'll let you have your 11 check, and I'm gonna do 8.
Why? Do you sometimes guess 11 as well?
Not as frequently, but I do.
Well, it'll be 8 versus 11 then, because it's always 11, which means it's probably not going to be the torch. I don't think you can route the torch in to be 11 any way that you do it. So, yeah, we're going to see where it ends up. Guesses are in chat right now. I see a 22, I see a 9, I see a 13, I see a 4, I see an 18. 22, of course, probably meaning towel room, being the last one that runners usually check. 5, an 8, a 2, a couple of more 13s, a 10. So all sorts of numbers in chat. We are coming close to the entrance to Ganon's Tower now. Marcnificent just has to go to the Dark World using those lovely Titan's Mitts. Going to lift the rock here by the Turtle Rock area and make his way to the Dark World. Stuns the dead rock along the way. Birdo on his way to Misery Mire right now. Looks like he did pick up his Ether Medallion. Of course, that was the first chest in Swamp Palace, so that was bound to happen because he was in the area. And Marcnificent using the hook shot to avoid the Lionel beam that would have otherwise hit him. Little fun fact, when you're in the hook shot animation, nothing can hurt you. It just goes right through you. And Ganon's Tower is opened by these 7 crystals, and that means that guessing will be ceasing in about 10 seconds or so as Marcnificent will enter the tower. Good luck to everyone playing, and let's see where that big key is today. If you are watching on YouTube, just make your own guess. Obviously, you won't see the live chat. So Marcnificent heads inside, and he's going to take the right side first. That means chests 1 and 2 will be here in, I believe this is what's called the Hope Room. And that is a piece of heart and a small key. And we have the audio over on Marcnificent now. Thank you to our tracker for changing that.
Yes, that is called the Hope Room.
And skips tile room, which runners tend to do. And he's going to try to get through. I think he lost. I want to say he lost a small amount of time going through the to the second torch, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see if he can still complete it. He should still be good. Yep, he's good. And fire just burns those mummies alive.
In fact, it one-shots pretty much almost a lot of targets in the game.
It does.
Not everything, but most of them.
Mummies are good to one-shot, though. They are tanky. That is 6, by the way. That means that the big key has 16 other locations it can be, including Tower Room and also including the Torch, which is going to be the next thing we get to see because Marcnificent mirrored back to the beginning of the dungeon. So we're going to go upstairs right now on the Torch side. Are we going to find the big key on the Torch? What is on the Torch today? We have $300. The boots are not required. Marcnificent is 100% in go mode at this time.
And Mark can breathe a sigh of relief.
And we're coming to 8 to 11 here in the Stalfos room right now. Number 8 will be a small key. Number 9 will be $20. And he hook shots the wall, which doesn't do anything. Number 10 is another small key. Number 11 is the bombs. The search continues.
So I was sort of right. I say sort of because it is a key, but not the big key.
Nah. There were 2 keys in that room as well. There's another key. So the keys are all showing up now. He has 4 keys right now. The routing I normally take would put 11 in Rando Room, so we're still coming up on Rando Room. Obviously won't be number 11 today. As the next chest coming up after we get through this room will be chest number 13. Chest number 13 is at the end of this fire bar room that's loading right now. And g3rd0 is done with the eyeball fight. He is on his way to Ganon's tower at this point. He could save some time if he goes left when he goes in. We will see what he decides to do. 13 was not the big key. So we are now in Rando Room. Why is it called Rando Room? Because you're only going to come here in Randomizer. You never have any reason to come here in the main game, main speed run. Number 14 is the big key today. We also find $20, some bombs, and another $20. I think he was, I'm not sure why he opened the other chest. If there was something, he might be looking for silver arrows, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah.
Because silver arrows have not yet been found. So he didn't find the silvers in those 17 chests he checked. He is continuing upstairs. The other 5 chests are going to sit there and remain uncollected, including the torch, because the torch never actually got picked up. So Marcnificent is heading upstairs on the 3rd floor now, and goes through the first spike room puzzle there. Now going to shoot these gorillas in the eye. We call them mimics, but they are actually called gorillas in the game code. And they're down. And now the big key will be put to use to open this locked door. And notice all the spikes come out as you hit the tile there to go to the big key, to go to the switch at the back of that room. We're now in Cannonball Alley. He gets through cleanly. There are fairies in the room to the south there. That's what that bomb hole in the wall is. Marcnificent does not need no stinking fairies.
Mark is starting what we like to call the gauntlet. Why is it called that? Because, well, it's a gauntlet of enemies that you have to fight in a series of rooms before you go and fight off against Lambo 2 to end the gauntlet.
And the rooms all have Beamos in there too, which makes them even more of a gauntlet. Of course, you might be wondering why we call it a gauntlet when Marcnificent has only lost 1 heart and he's on the 4th room of the gauntlet. Well, the truth of the matter is, when you have blue mail and 13 hearts, not a lot challenges you at this point if you have the Bacon Blade.
Yep. Now, if Mark decides to continue to search for the silver arrows, he can check for chests at the top of Ganon's tower, and that can potentially have the silver arrows.
Now, if we don't see the silver arrows, those 4 chests, or if Marcnificent doesn't check them and they happen to be there, we may get the clue as to where they are from Ganon, because obviously Ganon will give us a clue if we don't have them. The thing, though, that I found, I don't know if this has been fixed yet, but I saw that it was like this when this version first came out, was that Ganon may just tell you where the first bow is, the one you already found. So we may actually not get to know where the silvers are.
That has been fixed.
Well, that has been fixed, I'm being told. Thank you.
So he will tell you one of the bows. If you have a bow, he'll tell you the other one, and vice versa. And if you have both bows, he will instead say, "Oh no, silver, my one true weakness."
I find it interesting that you say if you have a bow. By logic, you're supposed to have a bow, but the only way you would be able to not get there without the bow would be if you were to do a glitch that I don't believe is allowed in this tournament that involves the mimics here in Ganon's Tower. That would be the only way to get by without the bow.
Yeah, it's a bow or another bow. It's just a bow. One of the bows that you have can be or pretty much the same. Yeah, one of the bows will be there. So you will be checking those 4 chests.
Yeah, you checked 2 of them. No silver arrows yet. Silver arrows would be a significant time save, about 40 seconds or so at this point, I want to say.
This is mostly a convenience. In the advanced logic placement, which is what the runners are playing on, they are using advanced logic placement, and those silver arrows are never required, and technically silverless Ganon is in logic.
The truth of the matter is, by this point, you can check every chest in the game anyway, and you can have the silvers by the time you get there anyway. By the way, that was the gold sword. We have butter.
Not bad, but still no silver, so we can make an inference before we get the hint from Ganon. Maybe Ice Palace, or maybe Swamp Palace too.
For all we know, it could have been the big chest here in Ganon's Tower. We don't know that. In any case, we are on the Agonometry fight. So Aganon splits into 3, 2 imposters who are not as light as the real one. I think he got 2 orbs in. They all fire an orb. Sometimes the real one will fire a blue ball instead, like that. No orbs hit on that, so we're still sitting at 2 on Marcnificent's side. g3rd0 has his big key. He is heading upstairs. Gonna be a little behind, though, at this point. Marcnificent gets 1 more hit. He's up to 3 orb hits. And nothing, swung a little early on that one, still on 3. No impacts. The real one is behind the shadow that time, gets 2 more. 1 more hit will do it. Don't do anything fancy, just get the orb in. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Big Pig. And something that Ganon likes to do, Ganon likes to impart certain words of wisdom. Sometimes he likes to sing. Sometimes he likes to talk about your relationships with your family. Sometimes he likes to talk about cheese or bacon. We'll see what he decides he wants to talk about today. As the bat is going to fly through the pyramid, cuckoo-shaped hole in the pyramid, and day 1 of the group stage of the random tourney, Marcnificent is about to start a Ganon fight for the win here. And we're asking what kind of burrito would you be? He would be a spicy something burrito. What kind of burrito would you be, chat? Get your answers in chat. So we are already on phase 2. Phase 1 of the Ganon fight is simply the trident being thrown at you. Phase 2 involves this circle of fire, which turns into fire bats. The gold sword makes this very quick, though, for those 2 phases. Already on phase 3. He's now in temper tantrum mode, going to drop on every hit, going to drop some more tiles out of the floor. And now we're going to get to see where that other bow is located. It was located in Ice Palace. You were right, Render.
I had a feeling it was a nice palace.
Torch glitch attained. So that means he only has to light the left torch when it goes out. The right torch will stay lit. The way that works, if you light the torch before the right torch goes out, that right torch will never go out.
Next to this is only available in the Japanese 1.0 version of the game. This is what the randomizer is using. This is what the randomizer is built upon. The Japanese 1.0 version of the game.
And Marcnificent is almost done this silverless Ganon fight right now, I believe. He is, I think, 1 hit away if I did the math, maybe 2. This should be it, I think. That's it. That means we're going to get to find out what his final time is. All Marcnificent has to do to win the first game of this match is to cross a 1x3 bridge. If he can do this successfully, he will be the winner of this race today. And he does so. We will get his time in just a moment. I always like to see what the Triforce says, though. So let's see what the Triforce says first. And the Triforce today says, simply, you win. As for the time, the official SRL time for Marcnificent was a time of 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 20 seconds. Get your GGs in chat if you have not already.
An excellent fight for Marcnificent and g3rd0. Of course, we'll be seeing them again later on down the road. Because remember, this is a best of 3 set for this match.
I do see Marcnificent's already in the sub channel. We are going to go ahead, of course, and finish with g3rd0 as well, but we'll bring Marcnificent in the meantime and say GG, sir.
Hey, GG, thank you.
And very briefly, because we're going to follow g3rd0's finish here as well here, what were your thoughts on the seed today?
I thought it was incredibly jet, at least for me. I feel like I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of walked into all the items I needed, like flute and hammer, kind of just, I think, fell into my lap, and I wasn't really expecting it, and I was just like, I had like one game plan in mind, and then all of a sudden I was surprised by the flute and hammer, and I was just like, okay, I need to change my my game plan really quickly. So I mean, overall, I felt pretty good, really good about this race. Yeah.
Well, g3rd0 is on the agonometry fight now on the restream. I'm sure you were, obviously, because you're 20 minutes ahead, you were probably watching some of the end of the race there. So you can see he's on the agonometry fight if you've been watching. Mm-hmm. And the bat is now coming out, and we're going to get to see his Ganon fight in just a moment. So I think one of the big differences, I think, that led to you coming ahead in the race was that you did find that path on the I call it the blacksmith chain, because it goes from blacksmith to magic bat to K45. Obviously, you couldn't do the shovel spot because we never found the shovel, so we don't even know what's at the shovel spot yet. We found those lovely items: the flute that you mentioned, the fire rod on the dwarf, and that put you ahead because g3rd0 went to Skullwoods without the fire rod, whereas you went there with the fire rod. He didn't finish Skullwoods on that trip, obviously, and he didn't go back for a while because he was looking elsewhere for items. So, yeah, that was one of the things that gave you a bit of an edge in the race today, I think.
Oh, for sure. I definitely needed it. g3rd0's really, really good runner, so definitely I had to play my best game.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of g3rd0 right now, let's just stay with him for a moment because he is on the 3rd hit of Temper Tantrum phase right now. One more hit. He did pick up the gold sword like you did. Silver's an Ice Palace. Obviously, we weren't going to be picking those up today.
No, absolutely not.
Not worth the time to go to Ice Tea Room, wherever it might have been, in Ice Palace.
Colsair.
Could have been that too. Yep, that'd be even worse. So we are getting the Swordless hits in for g3rd0 right now on Ganon. And I didn't keep as good a count on this as I did for you, Marcnificent, but I think we're at about halfway now, if I'm guessing that correctly. And you didn't actually check the pedestal. g3rd0 did get a pedestal check in with the book, so you're just seeing the full heart on there, obviously, for the first time there.
Oh, thank God.
And the Ganon fight is down for g3rd0, so we are going to have our second place finisher in the seed crossing the bridge momentarily. And we'll report on his time in just a moment here as he's about to cross. And there it is with beeping hearts. Finished with a very minimal life, clutched it out. 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 28 seconds official SRL time, and that difference of 4 minutes and 8 seconds. And like I said, it was just something like that Fire Rod being found earlier, whereas he went to Skull Woods without it, you went there with it, and were able to finish it in one trip. Something like that can lead to a difference in time like that, and that difference worked in your favor today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, very, very fortunate there. So is Rando, but at some point I was thinking, where are these boots? I was thinking that he had gotten boots way earlier, and I was just like, way behind. I just that's how I felt kind of the whole race, and I guess it was kind of the way it went. No boots, bootless seeds. Feels really bad.
Yeah, we never found the boots. I'm guessing because we had 6 items in Swamp Palace, I'm guessing they were likely in Swamp Palace because there was still a lot of items there. It could have been in Ganon's Tower as well. Those 7 items we never checked. By the way, g3rd0 has joined us in chat. GG, g3rd0.
GG, g3rd0.
Hey, GG, g3rd0.
So what were your thoughts on that race, or on that seed, or on that race, whatever the case may be?
Well, the seed was kind of boring, I'd say. Like, there wasn't too much special going on in here. And then on top of that, like you just mentioned, boots were missing, right? So it was a bit of a slog, I feel like. And then I also played too conservative, I think, which is probably what cost me the race. Like, I wasn't... Yeah, I was too thorough, honestly.
Yeah, well,
It's kind of like qualifier mode still, instead of 1v1 mode. I still need to shift over,
Understandable. I mentioned the Fire Rod example as well, whereas you went to Skull Woods without the Fire Rod. Marcnificent had the Fire Rod before he stepped into Skull Woods, which turned out to be one of those things in his favor. Another difference I noticed was that you went to Eastern Palace without the... I want to say without... You did have the bow, but you didn't go with the hammer. Marcnificent found the hammer before stepping foot in that area, and he was able to do both at the same time. So just little things like that are what made the difference today. And again, you can't do that in every race. Sometimes you're going to have to go into Palace Arches to find the hammer to finish it, obviously. But it worked out in a way that Marcnificent was able to go to those places with the items he needed from somewhere else before ever having to go there. And I think just those 2 right there by themselves might have been enough to give him the edge in this race. Without that, it might have been a lot closer.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Professor Render, you can ask a question if you'd like.
I got nothing really. You hit on the nose here. That Fire Rod pretty much, I think, made it pretty much what kind of I don't want to say decided the game, but it was I guess a good considerable factor.
I would say based on when Marcnificent found it, it was quite a huge factor. I would say at that point, he did have a Triforce lead at that point because g3rd0 checked the castle well before Marcnificent did. He had the sword before Marcnificent, I believe. And Marcnificent did eventually check the castle, which gave g3rd0 a chance to come back. And I'm actually curious about that, Marcnificent. What was the reason for putting off the castle as long as you did?
Putting off the castle, it was just like I said, I had gotten into the flute, the hammer, and the Fire Rod, and like a Master Sword. So I was thinking, and I had the bow as well. So I was thinking, okay, well I can do. Well, I did desert, and then I was like, okay, I can do Thieves, Swamp, Pod, and Eastern right now. So I was thinking, okay, well maybe I'll do Pod and Eastern, and route in the red bomb with the pyramid into the castle. So that was my mindset, like going into that. I was a little bit scared that maybe the boots were in the castle the whole time, and I was just like walking everywhere. But I got lucky there.
I can see that would be, again, a huge difference if g3rd0 had found the boots in the castle. He went to the castle as soon as he had a sword. Didn't have the those ends that you mentioned yet. And he didn't find the boots there. Luckily for you, Marcnificent, because that would have been a lot of time he would have gained on you there. But
I think
So that worked out in your favor.
I think it all started just like when I got 2 mitts in Kakariko. I was thinking, okay, back of escape, because I know that I usually like forget that, and then I'll just like do the South Shore, and because there's more items, it's really tempting. But I was like, you know what? Like if I just go to the back of escape and just grab those 3 items really quick, see what happens. But that ended up having the Moon Pearl, so that kind of changed everything for me. I was like, okay, well I can route Dark World and Light World stuff, starting from Village of Outcasts all the way, going all the way down to South Shore, both Dark and Light World, because I had the mirror as well. So it's never real. You never really get a chance to do that in the early game. So I had an opportunity to route those both, and I was like, I could save some time there. So that just was worked out for me.
And sometimes it can just take making the right play at the right time, and that's how Rando works, obviously. So I'm just trying to think if there was anything specific that Guro did differently. I'm trying to remember. I think you did things pretty much the same we did. Actually, no, there was one thing you did do differently. I think, Guro, I believe you checked Pyramid Fairy, correct?
No, I didn't. I planned to do it after Swamp, but...
Mark.
My mistake. Marcnificent did that. My mistake. I forgot who did that. So it was Marcnificent who did that. And obviously that worked out because you got that and you did the castle too around that same time. Yeah, Pyramid Fairy obviously didn't have the boots either.
I think it was like Red Rupee and
Piece of Heart.
Yeah, Piece of Heart. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after doing the castle, and getting nothing, I was just like, do I really want to walk all the way up to Catfish and then do the Zora stuff? And then I just I missed like a portal. Like I think I did a mirror bonk or something, a portal bonk or something like that. And then I was like, and then in that time I was like, you know what? Let's just go to Swamp right now. 6 items and the green pendant. 7 items. I think that's the play. So I got really lucky that I switched I changed my mind there. Very lucky that it was the first chest in Swamp. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, from the Iron Destiny play, it was indeed the best play from that perspective, and it just turned out the very first thing there was it, and it saved you all that time.
Yeah, but obviously on edge the whole time, just thinking, he probably did this, 5 minutes ago. I'm just like, I'm just thinking like I could just go as fast as possible, like at that point. So that's how I was thinking.
Now, I will be honest and say I'm not 100% confirmed on the format for the groups. Is it a best of 3 between the runners for each part of the group?
I think so.
Each group has a best of 3, and it's a double elimination essentially.
So
yeah, it's like a mini bracket for 4 people.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you only play each other once. That means this is your match for this group then?
Yeah, we could still play later on in like the last match. Like if the winner of our match loses his next match and the loser of our match wins his next match, then we'll have to play again.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. So there may or may not be another game here, but let's go into this question then. Do you have? By the way, Render, if you have another question, feel free to jump in here. Do you have another question?
Not really good with questions, so.
Okay, so Gerda, is there anything, given how this seed went, is there anything you would change coming up on your next raid?
Yeah, like I said, I'll have to play a little bit more aggressive now that I'm out of the qualifiers. Like, you can't play super conservative in 1v1s. You can do it in big races like the qualifiers if you're just planning to play somewhere in the upper half, But those times are over now.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between playing in a large group and playing one-on-one. I do agree with that. Marcnificent, anything you would change? I know you won this race, but anything you would change going in the next race?
I mean, I definitely agree with the sentiment with Gerdo. I think I played really aggressively and chased crystals that I could probably complete, and that kind of just worked out for me. So I think going forward, I just need to keep this mindset, keep playing my best and practicing execution, obviously, because I'm going up against really great runners here. So yeah, just practice and run, do my best.
And we should probably start wrapping up here. I see we have your stat screens up now, so we've done what we need to do for that. Any last thoughts from you, Gerdo, before we move on?
Not really. Just thanks for the restream, commentary track, and so on.
And Marcnificent?
Yeah, thank you to all the volunteers, the restream, you guys for commentating, the trackers, Speed Gaming obviously for putting this on, and is they're working very hard. A lot of work behind the scenes going into this, so I just want to thank everyone for that, and I'll see you on the next one. g3rd0, GG.
GG.
And you just hit the nail on the head that we had a lot of races today. Our Speed Gaming crew has been busy today putting on a lot of these races, as well as whatever races have been on ALTTP Randomizer. Make sure you follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6 and ALTTP Randomizer 2 through 5 to catch all the races going on in this tournament. There have been a lot of them, as we had 4 in this 40-minute span, starting all 40 minutes apart here. So very, very busy day. Make sure you follow, of course, the runners, g3rd0 and Marcnificent V is what his Twitch name is. For those of you on YouTube, it is twitch.tv, followed by either of those names. As for our tracker, we had Draco Falconi. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Falconi. He was our tracker for today, so thank you for doing the tracking. You did a great job on the buttons today. And also thank you, Professor Render, for co-commentating today.
Thank you very much. I'm out to play some Groove Coaster, or maybe just get some time to relax, I guess.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go play something myself. Just don't know what yet. But make sure to come back for all the races we do have going on here. I'll give you a quick rundown of some of the races on the schedule for tomorrow. And I don't think we're gonna have channels for all of these yet, but I'm gonna try and get the best information I can on this for everyone who's watching live right now. For those of you watching on YouTube, these races will be coming up in the playlist. But for right now, for those watching live, here's what we do have going on right now. Races that are still finishing. I have not been checking these races at all during this call, but Walther IV versus Cadenza is on Speed Gaming 4. We have Philion versus Kappa on Speed Gaming 2. Those all start within half an hour of this one, so they could be finishing up. They could be done by now for all we know. Races coming up. Looks like Speed Gaming 5 has a race at 10:30. That one is between JP and Frostbite 3030. So that is up on the schedule 45 minutes from now. Keep an eye out for that. Speed Gaming 2 tomorrow is where things start with a race at 12:30 between Fear Agent and Mentos Man 8. Amazing Ampharos versus I'm Hugh Bliss on Speed Gaming 4. And I'll give you one more. That was at 1:15 Eastern Time. 1:30 Eastern Time, we have Ravers versus Lunchtime ATH on Speed Gaming 3. Those start off the schedule tomorrow, but those are not the only races on the schedule. I see about, on a quick scan, 10 races, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 races on the Speed Gaming schedule alone for tomorrow. And that's just here on the Speed Gaming family channel. So make sure you come back and watch those races tomorrow. Whatever races interest you the most, those are the first 3 on the schedule. But go to speedgaming.org/ALTTPR for more information on all of the races that are on tomorrow and what channel you will find them on. We'd love to have you here for some races. Any last thoughts for you, Professor Render, before we wrap?
No, like I said, I'm going to play some Groove Coaster and chill out.
No problem. And as for other events here, you can also catch a Zelda 1 Randomizer weekly race, which is taking place very shortly on Speed Gaming 3 if you want to watch that tonight. We also have the SNES Superstars Marathon, which I think ends. I'm just checking when it ends. I thought it ended today, but it looks like it's going into tomorrow. And it does end. It does end on Tuesday morning. The final run of that will be on Monday night, Tuesday morning, which will be a Breath of Fire run. But there are still a few longer games going on tomorrow in that. You can catch, what is that game? Pacific Theater of Operations. You can catch Mystic Arc. These are still on the SNES Superstars Marathon. Earthbound is on right now, so you can go watch that as well. And there's also some Super Metroid ALTTP combo randomizer, some Crystallis randomizer. A lot of other things going on here. Make sure to check it all out, speedgaming.org/schedule. I think that's good enough for us for right now. I want to thank you, chat, for watching, because if it wasn't for you, we'd just be sitting here talking to ourselves. So thank you for watching us and listening to us do that. And may not all your seeds be pet seeds. I wish you all a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow. Professor Ender, take us out.
And with that becomes, I don't even know. But take care, everybody, and I'll catch you all probably on the next.
Good night.